Cool, React Challenge, upper beginner. What we got today here? So first of all, question number one, welcome users. So we have a component called welcome. Can anyone please tell me how many props that component receives? 2, that's correct, up to 2, yeah? First and last name. On the second use case scenario, there is just 1. But that component may expect 2 props, first name and the last name. So the algorithm asks us to build something about the greeting message. So if we receive both first and last name, then display welcome Mr. last name. If, however, because of whatever reason we don't have the last name, we just have the first name, then we display welcome first name. That's pretty much it. So the algorithm has been partially written, as you can see on my screen. So we just need to play a bit with the props. So if I got the last name, then return welcome Mr. props of last name. Will that work? Why not? Curly braces, that's correct, guys, that's correct. What will that print, guys? Correct, as it is, right? Welcome Mr. props of last name. And you may be thinking, who the hell is props of last name? Such a weird name, right? So yes, remember, because props of last name is a JavaScript variable, technically speaking, we must surround it with curly braces. And then at the bottom, if we don't have the last name, we just want to say welcome and then props dot first name, something like that. Will that work? Yeah, it should. All right. All right, let's try it. Fantastic, fantastic. Confetti time, confetti time. So even though that's great, there are obviously better ways to present that problem. So first of all, personally, I wouldn't use an if-else statement. I would use a ternary operator. Can anyone please refresh my mind how the ternary operator works? Return. That doesn't make sense, Vicky. Sorry. You started with a quote, right? That's not right. So first of all, guys, you see, I mean, you get a feeling about the length of the lines, right? So let's first of all add a break line, yeah? Let's tidy up a bit. And now, we just need to do copy paste of what we wrote before, right? So if we got the last name, what else? The thing at the end. What's the thing? The column? The column, yeah, that's right. And then eventually we got the last one, the first name. So any will that work? First of all, confetti or not confetti? Confetti. So first of all, that's correct, guys. That's correct. Yeah. However, from an elegance point of view, you see the platform is spoiling some issues. So first of all, guys, indentation is absolutely horrible. Yeah. So that's the right indentation. Props of the name. Then if I got the last name, then do something else. Do something else. You see, if else are perfectly aligned now. And then obviously you need a semicolon at the end. Yeah. So to me, that looks much more professional. Any questions? That's a good question. So, if you see here, we are returning a div with a message. Yeah. However, Does the algorithm talks about using divs or labels or spans? Not at all, not at all. So your function should just return a piece of text. Welcome, Peter, welcome, Mr., whatever. Yeah. Based on that, there is a different way to solve the problem. And the new way to solve the problem is just by returning a piece of HTML, as Lawrence suggested. We could do that. Welcome, Mr. props of last name, else welcome props of first name. I believe that should work, and that's even simpler, yeah, because we don't need to create some weird artificial div. We don't know why we need that div. Yeah, the exercise is not trying to evaluate the structure of your HTML. You see, that's even easier. Yeah. So your React components don't necessarily have to return HTML. They don't necessarily have to return a div with a label. No. If you just want to display a piece of text, hello, welcome, whatever, you can just return some JavaScript. You see, that's a piece of text. That's it. Any questions? Let me show you an even better way of solving the problem. Not sure if you've seen that before, but if you've never seen what I'm going to present now, save it. Save that, because this is a very powerful technique in JavaScript. Let me present you something quite new in JavaScript called object destructuring. We may run a workshop about that. We may not. We'll see, depending on the agenda. But the idea is, if I got a variable called let user equals name Peter age 21, then if I want to create a new variable to save the name of the user, I can write let name equals what? Square bracket name dot name. Yeah, much better, right? User dot name, correct. And what about the age? The same thing, right? Age equal user dot age. That's fine. That's fine. And then we can do whatever we want with the name and the age. That's absolutely valid. However, in modern JavaScript, don't forget, guys, that you are expected to impress the employer by presenting things that are new, fresh, because they may not even be aware of these things, right? So in modern JavaScript, you can replace these two lines by typing something like that. Look. Line number 12 is equivalent to lines number 9 and 10. That's the same. It's nicer because you have to type less. And this is, look, the way this works is, A, please create a new variable called name, like we try to do here. And then what's the value of the variable name? The value of the variable name is user.name. And likewise, please create a second variable, age, as we did on line number 10. And then what's the value of the new variable age? The value of the variable age is user.age. Okay? So that structure of creating two variables can be simplified by using what we call object destructuring. And that works with functions, of course. So if you get a function that receives hello and receives a user, so that function can return welcome and then user.name, yeah, for instance. So now we can call the function hello by passing an object name Peter, for instance, yeah, something like that. So can anyone see how can I destructure the argument? Instead of user, what can I type here? I'll show you. User is an object, so we can type curly braces, and now type name. So that will create a new variable called name, and the value will be whatever the name was at the bottom. Yeah? So now I don't have to type name anymore. What if I want to do something with the H as well? So you are, that's correct, Aaron, comma H. So now, yeah, you see how powerful this is. It simplifies a lot. It simplifies a lot. Otherwise I will have to type user and then user.name and then user.h, which is okay, guys. Don't get me wrong, that's okay. But I hope you agree with me. That's a bit more exhausting. If I have to type user 40 times, you know, I will blow up. User. I don't want to do that. So back to the original problem. Can anyone tell me how can I destructure the props argument? First name dot last name. All right, and anyone apart from Vicky? That's correct, Vicky. Thank you very much. So anyone apart from Vicky can tell me how to complete the exercise? Take out props and the dot, right? That's it. That's it. And what else, Vicky? And oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I missed that one. Yeah, you're right. Brilliant. That was great, Vicky. Will it work? Will that work? Let's figure. You see? So to me, that's the most beautiful way of solving the problem. Any questions, guys? Nothing? Yeah, go for it. No, well, you can. Yes, you can rename it. But I'm not gonna explain now how to do it because it's gonna make everything much more complicated. So it should match. Definitely, it should match. We'll do it again here in this exercise, Elena. All right, so question number 2 is kind of similar, right? Kind of similar. So we have a component called president that receives first and last name again. In this occasion, however, we need to be a bit more careful with the structure of our HTML. Can anyone tell me what the bloody hell that selector means on the left-hand side? Correct. We are expected to add an element with a class name first name. Yeah, it could be a div, it could be a label. You know, the exercise is not opinionated about what type of HTML structure you follow, but at least we know that we need to create two HTML elements, one of them to hold the first name, the other one to hold the last name. So let's start from the beginning. So I create a div, for instance, div class name equals, should we use, guys, single quotes or double quotes? Why single, why double? Yeah, that was a brilliant answer, Aaron. So I'll tell you something. Both answers here will be valid, yeah, if you give the right arguments. So first of all, I agree with Aaron. On the left hand side, we are using single quotes. So in order to keep our coding style uniform, we should use single quotes. However, Airbnb recommends to use double quotes. In other words, unfortunately, Codery is not fully filling the styling standards offered by Airbnb. Personally, I agree with Airbnb, and that implies that personally I disagree with that coding style. Yeah? So at some point we will change that. We will change all the single quotes with double quotes. Remember, we are just talking about HTML attributes. I'm not talking, of course, about JavaScript, so all these things are okay. However, the HTML attributes should be refactored, to use double quotes. Yeah. Anyway, so div class name, first name, and then here we'll display first name, and then props.firstName. Yep. And then let me copy and paste it, because we need to do the same thing for the last name, props.lastName, and then we change the class name, first name, with last name. So first of all, will that work or not? All right, so let's see if we get confetti, right? That's the first thing. So you see, technically speaking, the code is correct. But now, can you help me to get rid of the elegance warnings? Where? Yeah, line number 6. So what should I do? Something like that? No. Like that? Cool, that's correct, Maxim. So you see, so now all the divs are perfectly aligned. And there is also, what's wrong with the other warning, guys? On the 10th here? Are you sure? Line number 9, guys, look, line number 9, missing semicolon, yeah? At the end of the return statement. So if we evaluate that, that's fully correct. I personally don't like the way we started building the HTML. Why? Look, if you pay attention to the children divs, they are perfectly aligned. You see, you open the div, you close the div. You open the div and you close the div. What happened with the root div? Is it aligned with the opening one? Not at all, not at all, not at all. So what I used to do here is move the first div to a new line, so now it's perfectly aligned, and now we need to do a couple of things. We need to add parentheses. You remember the parentheses, guys, when using find and filter? So that's the same thing. You add parentheses, and now, do we need to do anything else? Exactly, Elena. We need to indent everything, because now, whenever you put parentheses or curly braces, that means everything inside of that block should be indented to the right-hand side. And if you run it, of course, it still works. Any questions? What about the structuring? Can anyone tell me how can I how can I stop using the word props? First name, comma, last name, and then what else? That's correct. Yeah. So now, if we run it, you see, it works perfectly. Let me try to move everything, to move the different divs into a single line, because now the content is shorter. So if I want, that's optional. I think that's readable enough, right? That's pretty simple. You know, now my algorithm looks even simpler. And that's pretty much it. So do you have any questions? Is there a way to simplify that? No, I don't think so. I don't think so, because, I mean, how do you want to simplify? Well, I'll tell you something. Can we... That's a good question. Can I get rid of the root div? Can I do that? All right. One root. Yeah. All right. Let's run it. Let's run it. You see, it doesn't work. Look. Adjacent JSX elements must be wrapped in enclosing. You don't see anything, right? But the thing is, yes, so Vicky is right. So on every React component, there must be a root element. So you need to create a div or a label or a span or whatever. Correct. Or yeah, that's correct, Vicky. Or you can use what we call, look at that, guys, an empty tag. Does anyone know the name of this tag? So that's a fragment. Yeah, that's a fragment. Be careful, guys. That's not supported in HTML. That's something React made up. Don't try to use that in a non-React application because it won't work. Yeah? So that's a fragment. Can anyone tell me the difference between adding a div and adding a fragment? Not bad, Vicky. Not bad. So if I add a div, it will be a div on my HTML, right? Eventually, if I add a label, even though that may look a bit weird, but technically speaking, I will get a label on my HTML. However, if I got a fragment, if I got an empty tag, I will get nothing. So React will essentially create two divs, but that's it. Nothing surrounding these two divs. So now, can you tell me advantages and disadvantages of using fragments? But why is that an advantage, Maxim? Yeah, but that's not a bad thing. That's not good or bad, right? That's a different behavior. But, yep. Less writing, I mean, depends on how lazy you are, right? You are not saving much, but okay. Right, so let me present you an important advantage. So divs or HTML elements, they are not for free. The thing is, the more HTML elements you add, the slower your application will be. You will not notice when building Coldflix or your portfolio, but performance, exactly. I remember back in 2016, I was working as a tech lead at HSBC, building trading apps. And I remember it was a nightmare just to refresh the page because they got thousands, literally thousands of divs. I don't care if it's a div or a label. So a div is not necessarily more expensive than a span, yeah? But just HTML elements. So in other words, we should try to prevent from creating unnecessary HTML elements. So, and definitely, fragments help, yeah, because we are saving one div every time that component is rendered. So that's an advantage. Performance. Any disadvantage? CSS. What's wrong with the CSS? Well, what happens if I want to add a border surrounding my president component? I can't. Why? Because, I mean, if I got a div, I can add a class name called president, and then on my CSS, I can do .president, I don't know, whatever. Yeah, you get my point. So, what the hell am I doing? Color red. Yeah, whatever. I can style my component. However, if I don't have the root element, can I add a class name on a that doesn't make any sense because this element is not gonna be rendered. It's not gonna exist. It's never been there. Yeah. So of course, I could style the first name, So I can still style all the child elements, but I don't have the ability to use some sort of root element surrounding my stuff. Yeah. So that's a small disadvantage. If you need to control your element using a root class, that's not gonna work using fragments. Cool. Anything else? So at the end of the first line, after first, all right, you tell me what happened. Will that work? That's correct. That's correct. Look, that won't work because, look, expected first name Bill semicolon to equal first name Bill without the semicolon. So I mean, you can take whatever you want. You can take Maxim, but this is going to be reflected on to the users, right? Anything else? No. All right. So let me jump to question number 3. So what we go today here? So player details. What the hell is that? So player displays a score detail for Andrea. All right. So can anyone tell me? It's some sort of similar question, right? So we got 2 paragraphs. Well, why a paragraph? That's not obvious. I mean, technically speaking, guys, could you change the paragraph with another div? The exercise is not opinionated again. Yeah, it's just telling us, hey, whatever you do, it should have a class name and another class name score, other element. Yeah, so let's just do paragraph because we got it there, right? So now the question is, how many props the player component receives? That's not correct. That's not correct. That's not correct. Guys, when you get the question how many props the component receives, you need to check that line. How many attributes the player component has? 1. That's it. That's it. 1, which is the person. Yeah? And of course, the person could be an array, could be an object with multiple details. I don't care. But technically speaking, player receives a single property. So, can anyone tell me how can I get the name of the player? Interesting. Person, that's correct. The name of the prop is person. So that's the first thing. Props.person. Props.name doesn't make any sense because we don't have any attribute called name here. The name of the attribute is person. So let's just type person. And then because person is an object and we want to get the name out of that object, we'll type dot name. Does it make sense? Okay, so now with the score, that's pretty much the same thing, right? Score props.person.score. Will that work? Cool, fantastic, fantastic. This is one of the silly questions I tend to ask from time to time to see if anyone is paying attention. So thank you very much, Max. And now, will it work? Okay, let's run it. Brilliant, confetti time. And now I'm not gonna tell you anything. You tell me, what if you get that algorithm, if you are doing a pairing exercise in a job interview, and you do that as a first step, okay, fantastic. Will you change anything? And then what? Interesting. All right, let's have a look. Brilliant. It works, Aaron. Fantastic. 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 That's perfect. All right. Anything else? All right. All right. I'll go. I'll do that in a minute. I'll do that in a minute. That was the bonus, right? I don't want to do that yet. Before going that far, is there anything more obvious? Guys, what we talked about fragments a minute ago. Remove the divs. Okay. So you could use an empty tag at the top and then a closing empty tag at the bottom, right? So can you imagine, guys, remember, if you're doing a pairing exercise with employer, nothing is right or wrong. You need to argue, you need to defend your strategy. So why? Why would you do that? Yeah, it's not necessary. We don't need to put a div on top. Yeah, so this is more performant. Cool. And now Lauren was suggesting, look, we managed to destructure props into person, which is correct. But now, person is an object. So can we destructure person into name and score? Yes, we can. If you didn't really got how destructuring works, please do something else. Stop paying attention to what I'm saying now, because this is a bit mind-blowing. Yeah. But if you feel comfortable with the structuring, probably you are ready to face the next challenge. So the next challenge is writing a nested destructuring, and that's actually doable. Look, person, column, name, score. So if you do that, I don't even have to write the word person at all. Yeah? So that's a multi-level destructuring. If you do that in a job interview, you are putting your balls on the table, right? Like, hey, if I know how to do that, because I'll tell you something, half of the developers, they don't even know that thing can be doable. Yeah, I mean, if I don't know that's doable, I may be thinking, oh, that guy is stupid. Why the hell he or she is doing that? It's not gonna work. And then if suddenly that works, it's like, oh, whoa, big respect, yeah, to that person. Cool. Anything else? Destructuring, correct. This is object destructuring. Can we do, guys, array destructuring? Yes, of course we can. Let me present you a problem. I got a list of fruits equals apple, banana. I'm always talking about the same three fruits. It's the only three fruits I know in English, right? That's enough. Yes. So now imagine that I want to create a new variable called first fruit. Can anyone tell me what else do we need to write here? That's correct. That's correct, Lauren. So that's the first one. And then I can create two more variables, like second fruit, index 1, and then third fruit, fruits of 2, right? Easy. Hey, guys, that's okay. And then I can do whatever. I can send a message. The first fruit is blah, 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 whatever. Fine. However, look at how cool the structuring is when talking about arrays. Let first fruit, second fruit, third fruit equals fruits. That's it. Line number 17 is equivalent to line number 13 plus 14 plus 15. The way it works is, please create three variables: first fruit, second fruit, and third fruit. So what's the value on the first fruit? Please pay attention to the square brackets surrounding these variables. Yeah? So the value of the first fruit will be the value on the first index of the fruits array. The value on the second fruit will be the value on the second index of the array. And the value on the third fruit will be the value on the third index of the array. What happens if I add a fourth fruit, if I spelled that correctly, which I'm not sure. So can anyone tell me what will be the value of fourth fruit? Undefined. That's correct. Why undefined? Because we don't have any fourth element in the array. Yep. So that's absolutely okay. And what if I got only 2 fruits? Is that valid? Is that correct? Yeah, of course. The third element on the list will be just ignored. Yeah. So I will have first fruit equal apple, second fruit equal banana, and that's it. Any questions? That's correct. That's correct, Lauren. That's correct. Yeah. Yeah, go for it. So to me, the main reason is well, there are 2 reasons. So reason number 1 is simplicity. I don't need to write props dot props dot props dot props dot props. I mean, this example is pretty simple, but it's just a matter of time, Aaron. You'll create a component where you have to type props 30 times. Yeah. So simplicity. Also, to me, is readability. Why? If I got a function, let me rewrite function player with props. The first line tells me nothing about what type of data player plays with. However, at the bottom, I'm telling my colleagues, hey, the player component has name and score. So it's a way to present the signature of your component to your colleagues. So I think it helps to improve the readability of your component. Oh, of course, absolutely. Okay, of course, absolutely, you of course you use props, of course, absolutely, 100%. The thing is, you don't type props dot anymore. That's the only difference. Exactly. Anything else, guys? No at 1, not 2, not 3. All right, so let's move to question number 4. Well, interesting. If else. So we get a component called film score. It receives a bunch of movies. How many props the film score component has? 2, correct. Which ones? Title and score. Can you tell me straight away? I don't gonna refactor. I'm going to start from the beginning. Can anyone tell me how to destructure them? That's correct, Elena. Title and score. Fantastic. So now the thing is, depending on the score of the movie, we have to present how good that film is based on this algorithm. So if the score is below 50, the movie is poor. If the score is between 50 and 75, it's nice. If it's above 75, it's excellent. Yep. So I can use if else actually. Yeah. If what? If score is less than 50, return poor. Else if score is less than 75, return good. Actually miss the... You see, guys, one of the good things about modern code editors is the syntax highlighting. You see, I didn't notice I added a typo on line number 3, but because the coloring is different, visually speaking, that gets my attention immediately. Like, hey, there is something wrong here, and then obviously you can notice that there is a missing semicolon at the end, right? Not semicolon, missing quote, missing quotation mark, and then else return excellent. I think we don't need to look after any divs or any classes, so it's actually easier than you may have thought about originally. Will that work? You don't feel very convinced. Okay, we'll talk about better alternatives. First question is, well, here Do, that's a good question. Do we need, guys, score? Do we need that? No, that's unnecessary, Aaron. Why? Because look, if the score is less than 50, whatever else, that means if it's not smaller than 50, so implicitly speaking, here we are already controlling, we already know that the score is at least 50. It could be 51 or 99. We don't know yet, but it's at least 50. Yeah? So we don't need to. All right, so let's see if we got any confetti or not. Oh, guys, that's a stupid, right? Stupid mistake. It's not good. It's nice, right? This is one of the things that happen from time to time. All right, so it was nice instead of good, and then we got confetti time. And that, however, Lauren was a bit worried about the styling here we follow here. So, well, first of all, before changing anything, guys, is there any point of using the structure in the title? Clearly not. Are we using the title at all? Are we playing with it? No. Actually, you got a warning. Hey, the warning says, hey, why the hell you are destructuring the title if you don't care about it? So let's just remove it. When you destructure an object, you don't have to get all the properties. You can get only the ones that are relevant to your business. Yeah. In this particular case, I just care about the score. So let's ignore the title. We don't care about it. And then it works. So, can anyone offer me an alternative, a different way to solve the same problem? Iteration. What iteration means? Ternary. Colon. All right. That's very interesting. So, first of all, guys, will Vicky get confetti or not? Oh, why not? That's correct. The point here, Vicky, is the last movie won't be considered excellent. The last movie will be nice. Let's run it. You see? I'm not gonna do that, Vicky. I explained 30 seconds ago. That wasn't necessary. So I'm not gonna do that. So guys, what's wrong here? That's correct, Lauren. That's correct. Yeah? So if it's less than 50, poor. Else, if at least is in between 50 and 75, nice. Else, excellent. So, first of all, that's correct. However, to me, that is very difficult to read because indentation and break line strategy is horrible. It doesn't follow any patterns. So the way I will indent and split that problem is every time you type a question mark, every time you type a colon, add a break line. So for instance, if a score is less than 50, yeah, movie is poor. Else, if it's less than 75, nice. Else, excellent. You see? All the if else are always aligned. And I hope you agree with me, that's a bit more readable. Yeah? If, then, else, if, else. What do you prefer? Yeah, go for it, yeah. That's a good question. That's a good question. So you know that if else can be replaced with a ternary operator in many occasions. In many occasions. However, which one is better? That's a bit personal. To me, the rule is the simpler the condition structure is, the better for the ternary operator. In other words, to me, that example is in the limit in between my preferences. I probably may use the ternary, but if we will have more conditions like score is less than 90 and then blah 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 blah, eventually the ternary operator will become unreadable. That's why if you are dealing with a complex condition logic with if, else, if, eventually, even though you have to write a bit more, you have to type a bit more code, eventually the else, if structure will be more readable. Definitely, what I could, to me, that's decent enough. And if I was a geometry, I would explain, hey, all right, I'm quite happy with that. It is true that at some point the ternary operator won't scale that well, so at some point we may consider moving it to a if else. What for sure I couldn't do is to put everything in one line. I've seen many developers doing that. I massively, and maybe that's a personal thing, but I massively struggle to understand that line of code. Yeah? You agree with me? It's much more complicated. It's much more complicated because indentation is your friend, guys. Thanks to indentation, we can get a nice touch, a nice feeling, at least, about what the structures, what the if-else structures of your algorithm are. So, any questions? No? Any warnings? Any styling issues? That's correct. Missing semicolon on line number 6. Thanks, Lauren. So if we run it, now the algorithm is perfect. Cool. Last one. Question number 5. Oh, interesting. Display a combo to select a piece of fruit. So by the first time, I believe, we are playing with input fields. Yeah. Input fields are vital when talking about the web, yeah? So at some point we want to interact with the users. We want to ask, how old are you? And they type their age. What's your email address? And they type their email address, you know? So we interact with customers. So on the intermediate training, you got plenty of questions about forms, input fields, please enter your email, please enter your password, you know, all these sort of things. This is the first time we deal with inputs. So a select is a combo box, yeah, where you select between different options. You know, when you want to book your flight to go somewhere and you need to enter your passport, they ask you which country issued your passport, and you select the country, yeah, Algeria, France, United Kingdom, whatever. So that's a combo box. So let's think on HTML. So does anyone know in HTML how can I add a list of valid answers to the user? That's correct, Elena. You type option and then you close option, and then for now we just type the text. So the first option is going to be Apple, and the second one is going to be the orange, I believe, right? So will that work? Why not? That's correct. That's correct. The problem is, if we do that, the first assertion will probably work. Because on the first use case scenario, we don't care about any selected value. You know, some combo boxes, they have a selected value by default. You can change it if you want, right? However, we're ignoring the prop, yeah, the selected prop. In some cases, we may want to have the apple selected by default. In other use cases scenarios, we may want to have the orange selected by default. So that's important, guys, because here we can find the difference between HTML and React. In HTML, you will select values in a given way. In React, you select values differently. In React, to select a value in a combo box, you have to type value equals, and now whatever the value is. So for instance, I could type orange, and obviously that will make the second assertion to fail. Yeah, it works here, but it doesn't work on the second one. If I type instead of orange apple, it will be on the other way around. The second one will work, but the third one will fail, as you can see. So we need to capture what the desired selected option is. So can anyone tell me how to do that? Not sure if that will work actually. All right, we can try that. Yeah. Yeah. Class name equals value in double quotes. Okay, and then the same thing here. Why class name value and not Brexit, for instance? What the hell that means? And why value? Why? We're Finland 3. All right. Okay. Cool. All right, guys. This is far away from being correct, right? So there are multiple problems here. So the most obvious one is here. That doesn't make any sense. Do you have any attribute called value on the fruit picker component? That's the same as typing Brexit. It's literally the same. Why value? Do you see, guys, any prop called value here? What's the name? Okay. I see what you mean. Yeah, but that's different. So what this is telling you is that this select component, that's the select component number 3, should have an attribute called value, like that. Yeah, that's the way React works. So that's a de facto, that's a standard in React, guys. Whenever you want to pre-select an option in React, type value equals, and now how do we bind, guys, with the proposed selected option? What should we type here? That's correct, Lauren. Props.selected. That means, I don't know why you use class name value. That won't have any impact, guys. We don't need any class name here. So class names are just for styling purposes. Is there any reference to the style of the options? Not at all. Not as far as I can see, right? So you see, it was actually simpler than expected. So if I run that should probably work. Here we go. You see, we got confetti time. So it's as simple as that. How can we destructure props, guys? How? Yep. Anything else? That's correct, Elena. That's correct. Yeah. So now even simpler, as you can see. You see, it's not that complicated, guys. The only thing we should remember, so when you go to drop down a combo box, the way you pre-select an option is by typing value equals and then the value you want to pre-select. Anything else? Now, all right, so you got all the code on the platform, so feel free to revisit it. And of course, if you got any questions, you know where I am. Thank you very much, guys. We'll see you later.